Peace, peace, peace. This is A1, aka the Tonsinist one. And just gonna do a little brief story about the Wilmington Massacre. I've been meaning to do this. I actually checked something out and it kind of reminded me because I've been trying to get this out for a couple weeks, but I've been very busy. Let me just go back into the chat, make sure everybody can hear me. So, well, one of you nice people that's in the chat room, shout out to the Aborigines that's in the chat room. Please press 1. Let me know if you can hear me. And peace to Star Strike, Wallace Carroll, Scotty Saturn, Park City, R77, Mr. Dark Brother 1. Peace to everybody. Mimi Dial. Peace, peace, peace. All right, so let's get this jumping, all right? All right, so let me see. All right, I'm gonna start. I got a couple articles I will be reading. You know, I'm not Dr. Seuss. You know, my reading sometimes can be terrible if I get distracted. So just bear with me. All right. So the Wilmington race riots. All right. So it says, and another thing they called it was a coup and a massacre. All right. So just to remind you guys what a massacre is, from 1580. It says a wholesale slaughter or carnage. Okay. Slaughterhouse butchery, say unknown origins. All right, say the verb is massacre to slaughter, wholesale slaughter or carnage. And this is what they called it. Like when you look it up, you'll see Wilmington Massacre. Okay, so all right. So the Wilmington race riot, they try to call it race riots to make it seem like it was just some nice or something that just happened. But anytime they say race riots, they try to make it seem like the people who the opposition of the riots was already living there. Nah, this town, Wilmington, was occupied by all Aborigines, and they had pretty much some of the same things that they had in Black Wall Street, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Greenwood, Archer and Pine, or Greenwood, Archer. I think it's Greenwood, Archer and Pine, I believe so. But nonetheless, we're gonna go over this. All right. Now I say Wilmington race riot, November 10th, 1898. Constituted the most serious incident of race violence in the history of North Carolina. It has been variously called a revolution, a race war, and more accurately, a coup d'etat. So let's look up what the word coup d'etat means. Let's go ahead and look it up, just so we can be current or correct on some of these terms that's not thrown out there regularly. All right. So a coup d'etat. All right. So it says suddenly decisive exercise to force into politics, especially a violent overthrow or a toleration of the existing government by a small group, military coup d'etat. All right. So let's go back here. So where we was at. All right. It say the outbreak stemmed from an editorial published on August 18, 1898 by Wilmington Daily Record. The Aborigine, now they trying to say African American when they wasn't even calling you African American. Remember, anytime you see the word black or Negro, they try to make you an African when they know that these is Aborigine people, all right? And shout out to everybody who say that we wasn't all slaves, because I mean, like as I'm doing this research, I'm kind of confused because in some of these areas, you starting to see that some of these people weren't slaves, but I'm starting to try to kind of figure out, like, how was it they slaves when these people wanted the land? And you see, as I'm going to read through this, you're going to eventually see this is what they wanted. They wanted the fucking land. These people, like I said, and like I said, man, it's a kumbaya thing right now because everybody got jobs and everybody happy and all that. But just remember how a lot of these people that's in power now got what they got. They got what they got by taking it from your ancestors, and they never want to compensate you. But like I said, when I made the reparation video, that was basically to enlighten people to show why we owe reparations. If they giving immigrants free benefits to come here to the country who shouldn't be here, why they not giving the people who landed is the free benefits? Never mind, they throwing you off by telling you that these fake Native Americans are the people who landed was, when they know damn well it wasn't. They just don't want to pay. It's too many of us to pay. All right, so understand. Let's get with this. Fuck that. All right. So say the outbreak stemmed from an editorial published in August 18, 1898 by the Wilmington Daily Record. The Aboriginal newspaper edited by Alexander Manley in response to an appeal for the lynching of a so-called black rapist made by Crusader Rebecca Felton in Georgia in August 11th, 1897. Manley wrote that the white women are not any more particular in the matter of the clandestine meeting with the colored men than are the white men with colored women. Now we know what European men did to black women. You know, they rape, man. It's just honestly, man, when these devils tell you make America great, you already know what the fuck that means. When was America ever great? Before the Europeans got here. That's it. But in their words, they say make America great when they had more control, and they got everything now. So why would anyone ever make that term make America great when they know the history of what happened in this country? Okay, anybody who know history know that how only way America could be great again by returning the land to the rightfully owners. Okay, moreover, Manley accused of the rape were simply cases where a black man was having an affair with a white woman, okay? Because it involved a sensitive issue of interracial sexual relations. The editorial struck a raw nerve with many whites and led to a bitter denunciations of Manley and the Democratic press. Now, I don't even think it was the Democrats, okay? Democrats, all right? Everything was Republican at that point in time. But let's keep it moving. The entire thrust of the white supremacy campaign, in which the Democrats were attempting to regain control of the state government. Let's say had a racially inflammatory. It was no surprise that after the Democrats boasted by bands of armed red shirts overturned the Republican populist fusionist control of the state in November 8th election of Wilmington Democratic Party. Now remember, the Democrats are not your friend, but you know what? Yo, I'm gonna tell you like this, man. The more money black people got, the more stupid and ignorant they are, yo. And you know whose agents by they sit out here and push. The Democrats have never been our fucking friend. The Democrats are fucking demon-crats. Okay? Demon-crats. You look the word up and you see where the word demon come, mob rule. You already understand what it is, all right? And like I said, I don't vote for none of this shit because it's two wings on the same bird. And like I said, local elections, you probably can't get things done, but not none of this, because none of us is part of the electoral college. And as I read in that, I can't remember. I can't get the title, the exact document out. But if you go back a couple, well, actually, I'm a member before before I get done with doing this or whatever. I'll tell you exactly what it was or whatever. We know the electoral colleges is people who own a state in the United States government, or who own part of the United States corporation. Them are electoral, and them are the only people who control what people that they put in power, because ultimately the person they put in power is going to be controlling their corporation. But they will make you think that, oh, the court, this is no, it's not. The country is America, the corporation is the United States. When would you motherfuckers ever learn? Okay? All right, so, so the Democrat Party leadership, let me take this my mouth off. decided to discipline Manley and take over the city administration. So they disciplined Manley by him writing and telling the truth of what happened. They disciplined him and take over the city administration. It says an order was issued under the name Alfred M. Waddell, a former Congress and a Democratic candidate for mayor. The editorial Manley leave the city with his press and informed Wendell of the actions by 7:30 a.m. November 10th. Unfortunately, Manley have already left Wilmington in response by the local black leader to Wendell's, it's a ultimatum. It's a did not reach him in time, but the forestall the subsequent violence, a white mob of 400 to 500 people marched on the Daily Record office, smashed the press, and burnt down buildings. The rioters was these white inferior, I ain't gonna say supremacists, but we gonna say white degenerates or white inferior, people that was inferior to us. All right, it's a delayed the Black Fire Company long enough to ensure the destruction of the property. Thereafter, the white bands roamed the city, hunting down the fugitives and indiscriminately shooting into neighborhoods believed by, believed by black politicians. It's a stronghold. Manly African American fled the forest outside the town. Wendell, backed by armed men, demanded to receive the resignation of the entire city board. Now, entire city board, okay? It's a of aldermen, including Republican. What I tell you, Republican. These are Democrats that's doing this. Republicans. Mayor Silas P. Wright. Wendell immediately took over as mayor of the appointed Democratic aldermen. Now, see how this is how they was getting down. They was taking shit over or whatever by them running in there doing the same shit they do these days. Republican governor Daniel L. Russell, it's a belatedly directed the state militia to stop the violence, but Walker Teller, the Democrat commander of the Guard of Wilmington, arrested only blacks, like they do now. The new all-white city government forced selected white fugitives decided persona non grata, it's a to leave the town. In his memoirs, Wendell boasted that the riot Democrats had choked the Cape Fear with black corpse. It's in fact the most often city estimate of black casualties. It's a place the number at 11 killed and 25 wounded. It's a only 3 whites were wounded. Nonetheless, one reported note that 2 whites were killed, and another reported that the death toll as high as 250. Most modern accounts of the violence discount contemporary parsons. It's a news stories that the black mob near the corner of the 4th and 100 of Nixon Street fired in first shots in riot. From the casualties, it is clear that the white Democrats did most of the shooting while blacks was largely defending themselves. Think of it like this, right? So once they took over the city, they get started locking. This, like I said, the more and more you learn this history, man, the more and more that a lot of these people in this country, man, they should feel ashamed to even be here, man. Knowing that this is what they did, knowing this is how they got any power and they did it all the way up into the 1960s. So 1960, that's less than 55 years ago. Or we must say 58 years ago, because it lasted all the way out to the 70s. All right, and shit. And then in the 80s, they pumped our community with drugs. All right, so the Wilmington race riot marked a bloody end in the increase of black participation in North Carolina politics, which have been made possible by fusionist control of the state government from 1894 to 1898. The emergence of the essentially all-white electoral one-party Democrat rules was solidified two years later with the adoption of the disenfranchisement amendment to the state constitution. The painful legacy of Wilmington race riot, which it wasn't a race riot, it was a massacre. It just told you it was an overtake of the government, which was a coup. Say the Wilmington race riot continued to be the subject of studies in 2005. Why are they studying this shit? They studying. What is there to study? It was racism, and it was people who was doing pretty much the same thing like they do these days. They would basically write you out. They don't want to give you a promotion in the job. They don't want to allow you to win anything fairly unless you're submissive to them. After nearly a decade of research on a special commission formed by the General Assembly under the aspects of the Office of Archives and History, released a report chronicling the riot and identifying its long-term effect on African American, but we need Aborigines, because they were not calling you African Americans at then. So they took everything that was Black Indian and added African American to it. So they got people in this country who think that you came here on a damn boat, don't know that these were your lands, and these people took it from you because they was jealous, and this is what they did everywhere, whether it was Tulsa, Oklahoma. And then people sit up there and say, well, even after Tulsa, we was able to get it back. But look what the shit they did. Look what they did in the first place. The documents concluded that the violence actually resulted from the actions by local whites to gain permanent and unchallenged control of the city. See, because of the perceived success of the insurrection, it say Wilmington blacks politically dispossessed and had no effective representation until the National Civil Rights Initiative in the night of the 1960s. So you see that, right? Now let's go. I'm gonna go to another article real quick, because I actually got a couple different articles up here. So we just gonna see. Let me see. All right, so this is a photo of what they said happened. Let me close this out. Close this out. Let me close this out. And this is it. It's the photo of the Wilmington coup showing rioters in front of the burnt out record newspaper press owned by Alex Manley, a black writer. All right. So this say white supremacy took over a city. Now North Carolina is doing more to remember the deadly attacks. All right. Now I bet you go to Wilmington right now, I bet you it's a white mayor. I bet you. All right. So it's a Raleigh. The North Carolina government is officially recognizing a historical call only successful coup d'etat. It's in American history when white supremacy overthrow the Reconstruction era government. In Wilmington in 1898. The state's highway historical marker committee has approved a new plaque. Now, see, 100 years later, they want to approve you a plaque and bring you honor and show you after they done did it. And probably the person who probably giving you a late nephew of the people who has to do, because trust and believe, the people who overtook this is still living in Wilmington today, and the people that's ancestors is still there today. But these are the same people who sit there, oh, well, I ain't have nothing to do with what my ancestors did, because it's still there. So you have everything to do. If you benefited from something that was done wrong, then you have everything to do with it, okay? They say, will which will tell people about the racist attacks that left dozen dead and the Harold to start the Jim Crow era. This isn't the first China officially acknowledged the coup. It say which went completely unpunished, which went completely unpunished. The state commissioned a new no a report released in 2006 about the violence. It say, but a public marker in a busy area is more likely to be seen by the public than that of the 464-page report. All right, so I guess they putting that up to pretty much so people coming through can pretty much see it. All right, so it say 1898, Wilmington was in North Carolina biggest city. So this is the biggest city in North Carolina that was controlled by so-called Aborigines. Okay, how was that possible? You use your mind. You figure that shit out. All right. It say in many of its city government leaders and prominent businessmen were Aborigines. It say in this 3 decades since the end of the Civil War, black people have gained more freedom and financial stability. So when they tell you Reconstruction, the Reconstruction was so-called us being ahead of these people because we had most inventions. We was mainly the hardest workers. So they don't want to tell you Reconstruction was basically when blacks started taking over the fucking governments and everything. All right. It say, but they would lose many of those advancements starting at the turn of the 20th century by continuing for decades more. All right. Which we pretty much read this. Let me see something. A former Confederate officer, is saying U.S. Congressman named Alfred fucking Cracker Weedell. It say led an attack with a band of armed rioters. See, this is what they would do. Just like the KKK. And he probably was a Ku Klux Klan leader. If you probably look his name up, you'll probably see his name he was somewhere up there with the KKK. Well, this is what they do. They'd sneak attack you and form a band of a bunch of fucking racist ass fucking crackers, and they will run and basically ambush you while you don't even know it. All right. Let's say with a band of armed riot that eventually grew to about 2,000 men. Now, this 2,000 fucking white immigrants that came here for what? And took land because they felt like they was losing. And this is what was going on. So most of the ancestors of these people, this is their legacy right here. This is their legacy. Their legacy is not working hard. Their legacy is ambushing people who worked hard and overtaking their shit. All right. It's saying they burned down the local black-owned businesses, killed dozens of black people, and forced many of more to leave the town and abandon their homes. Where else did we see this? The same thing that was done in Seneca Village in New York, where they wanted to make a fucking park. So they kicked the indigenous people out of their lands because they wanted to make a park for the rest of fucking Europeans that was coming here. You see how this shit works. And as you see why we are owed reparations, because, yo, man, like I said, man, and the thing about it is the people who not giving you reparations or not even trying to entertain the fact that you need a redress or reparation is other fucking racist ass motherfuckers who came here who benefited from this. They then took over the city government. This is how they got a lot of these towns. It's a forcing out the white mayor and the mixed race town council and installing Wendell as the new mayor without the legitimate election. Okay, so they ain't even have an election. They just let this nigga took over the shit and now all of a sudden he was the fucking mayor. It say the new marker will read Wilmington coup. It say armed crowd met November 10th, 1898 at the Armory. It say here marched 6 blocks southeast and burnt office of the Daily Record, black-owned newspaper edited by Alex Manley. Violence left about 60 blacks dead. It say led to overthrow the city government and install installation of the coup leader of Alfred Moore Wendell as mayor. Race riots was part of the statewide political campaign based on calls for a white supremacy and an exploration of racial tension. All right. It's a Butler, a Democrat who represents Wilmington in North Carolina House of Representatives, tweeted Friday. Now, look, remember, the Democrats are not your friend. The Democrats, okay? Demon, because demos come from the word demon, okay? All right. It's a tweeted Friday that the new marker is overdue, but welcome nonetheless. And this is how most of the Democrats became. And then you get started following the Democrats because you was a Republican and the Democrats will come in and mob rule. That's what the word Democrat. Now, what happened? The mob came in, burnt down your cities, and now it went from a Republican. Now you forced to be a fucking Democrat. Okay? All right. She said the plan is to put it up in March. It say on Market Streets in between 4th Street and 5th Street, the area a short walk away from the Cape Fear River waterfront. It say that makes up the busiest part of downtown. Now they want to put this shit in the busiest part downtown now so people can see how we got fucking disrespected and played. And most of the immigrants come here, they just look at this shit like, oh, well, okay, I'm going back to work. I'm going to look at this and go back to work. And they don't even sit down. They should be bowing down, kissing your fucking feet, knowing the shit that we've been through here and knowing how easy it is for them to come here and get all the fucking jobs and get all the benefits and shit. Meanwhile, they don't want to address none of the shit you've been through for the last fucking 400 years. All right, it say more symbolically, it say is at town historical light. Infantry building, which is where the rioting began 119 years ago. David Levar, a history professor at UNC Wilmington, who sits on the state committee that approved the new marker, said it came about after locals asked for the coup to be recognized. All right. So I'm gonna read one more part. I'm gonna read one more thing. I'm gonna read this shit right here. Let me see something. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. I just felt like I needed to touch on this shit, man. All right, boom. This is what I want. I wanted to read on how it unfolded because it told you it was basically blacks dating whites or whatever, or they, you know what I'm saying, the same shit they doing now. Or whatever, and they was jealous over that fact, and they was also jealous over the fact that blacks had a real start, and we was flourishing. We had all businesses and all this shit, and they just wanted to come in and just tear down your shit. All right, so let's look up something real quick. Shit, eat my bag. I say, all right. It's an adverse to advocate of democratic. They say which refer to a sistocrat. Say back information. Say formerly revived in the U.S. as a political party affiliation. 1798. All right. Now this is not. I seen something else. Hold up. See, they changed the motherfucking. Let me see something. Democracy. All right. Hold up. Let me. They say government by the people. It say systems of government in which the sovereign power is invested. It say in the people as a whole, exercising power directly or by elected officials. Now look, how do they tell you they got this shit? It's a government system for the people. Now basically it's showing you how these motherfuckers are come in because it's more of them and they're able to come in and take over the shit. All right, so I mean, you guys, it doesn't. It say Democrats imply that the man must take responsibility for choosing his rulers. It say and representatives and for maintenance of his own rights against the possible and probable encroachment of the government, which he has sanctioned as act for him in the public matters. All right. So it pretty much give you an understanding. But let's get back to this. All right. All right. Let me open this up a little bit. Matter of fact, you know what? Let's get with it. All right. So it say, think of a coup d'etat. It's saying images of a far-flung banana Republican likely come to mind. It say, so it might come as a surprise that it happened here in the United States. It say just once in 1898. It say a mob of white supremacists armed with rifles and pistols marched on the city hall of Wilmington, North Carolina on, it say on now, it say 10 and overthrew the election. It's a local government, forcing both blacks and white officials to resign and running many out of town. The coup was a culmination of the race riot in which whites torched the office of a black newspaper and killed a number of black residents. No one is sure how many Aborigines died that day, but some estimates says as many as 90 was killed. All right. It says some of the elderly Aboriginal American told my stepfather that the Cape Fear River was running red with blood. Bertha Ty, a teacher, recalls a producer, Alan Lipke. It's a documentary series between the Civil War and civil rights. It say especially chilling was the fact that the insurrection, it say had been carefully planned. A conspiracy, powerful white Democrat. See, and this is who you follow now. You follow the Democrats. It say Southern Democrats lost their grip on the power of North Carolina in 1894. It say and plotted to wrest control from the biracial Republican Party in the 1898 elections. The campaign on a platform of white supremacy and pretending their women and protecting their women from the black men. All right. It say as November 8th, 1898, it say votes approach. Whites in Wilmington mobilized. Their held supremacy rallies and parades and organized militias and red shirts to intimidate black from voting, just like they do now. What was they doing in Florida? They was locking blacks up. Yo, they do the same shit now, bro. They do the same shit now. The same shit is going on now. All right, it's a statewide election restored Democrat to the power. It said that 2 days later, the white supremacists descended on Wilmington City Hall. Their leader, Alfred Moore Wendell, had publicly threatened in a pre-election speech to choke the current of Cape Fear River with black bodies, according to a 2006 report chronicling. Now, this shit came all the way out in 2006, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the events of the 1898 Wilmington Race Riot Commission. After the coup, Wendell was elected mayor of Wilmington. North Carolina Democrats began passing a flurry of Jim Crow laws. See, it say in 1899. Now we know these people was Indians because, like I said, we know that in 1910 they started changing the fact that you was an Indian and calling you Negro and colored. And we know that this shit extended all the way from Virginia all the way to damn Louisiana and Texas, all right? So we know that most of the blacks that was there was labeled and classified as Negro and colored, all right? So it said the new voting restrictions further disenfranchise black men through the poll tax. See, look, the literacy test. And now the literacy test is this. Basically, they teach their people what they teach their people to prepare for these tests, and you're not properly prepared for it, so you'll lose. Just like they do these tests now, where they would say that you're not intelligent because you couldn't properly prepare for what they've been. They basically created a curriculum and they taught their own people that and left you out of it, and then you didn't know about the curriculum. So therefore, when you come to take the test, you can't pass the test because you wasn't properly prepared for it. And the same shit they do now. All right. And say in between civil wars and civil rights, George Roundtree III reads from the memoirs from his grandfather, a white civil leader in Wilmington who feared competition from blacks. It say the obvious test for intelligence was reading and writing. It say it would exclude all those immigrants that was coming into our country, meaning the Europeans, at the rate of 1 million a year. You would hear this shit? 1 million a year, until they had qualified themselves, and it would exclude a large number of ignorant and stupid Negroes until they had qualified themselves. You hear this shit, man? They say, but Southerners who were careful to give the voting restrictions and veneer of legally, it say wrote William Everett Henderson, a Wilmington lawyer exiled by the coup. Henderson great granddaughter Lisa Adams also appeared in the documentary series and reads from his paper. It says, so now we have bold and unscrupulous legislative enactments in open defiance of the national constitution and that lasted earthly tribunal. The United States Supreme Courts know the intent. So I mean, yo, man, like I said, man, this shit get me mad just reading this shit, y'all. And let me see something. So they called it a massacre. And this is like, you know, some of the, well, not all of it, but some of it is from that actual day. They're showing you pretty much shit like this. Let me see something. It's a horrible butchery. It's a at Wilmington, the Turks outdone. See this? It's a hundreds run to the woods. See? It's a mob captured in town. The white ministers out there. It's a aider and abettor of murder. See this? This is just some of the headline. It say, attention white men. There will be a meeting of the white men of Wilmington the morning of 11 o'clock at the courthouse. A full attendance is desired. It say as business in the furtherance of the white supremacy will be transactions. So they was calling themselves white supremacy back then. So when people use these terms, these are terms that these motherfuckers was using, but we know it's white inferiority. You know what I'm saying? It's like when I'm at the gym and I come in there with my sleeves cut off and shit. Motherfuckers like, damn, you know, they wonder how the fuck your arm's so big, or how the fuck you get so big, because it's in my DNA. That's motherfucking black supremacy. White inferiority, you gotta take steroids and shit. You know what I'm saying? You got to do stuff like this. You got to form thousands of men to run in on a town and kill women and children and do all this horrible shit. And then later on, you want to give thanks to almost 100 years later and start to, oh, well, you know, this was wrong. And like I said, then the people who doing it are descendants because it was a Republican ran town. So if it's Democrat, it's only because of what we said, the mob rule. What did we read the word Democrat meant? I mean, what did it say? So, like I said, man, you know, this shit is crazy. Let me see, it's this one. I'm gonna read this one. The Ghost of 1898. You see this? It says white kill Negroes in Sea City of Wilmington. You see this? So I mean, like I said, man, this is their history. It's our history too, but for the most part, it's their history for what they have fucking done, because they should be. I mean, they ain't ashamed of it because they won, and they could easily. And the people, the reason why a lot of them not ashamed of it, because what they do is this: they easily say, "Well, you know, that was then. We didn't have nothing to do with that. So how did you get here? Who are you descendants of? How are you living in Wilmington if it wasn't you wasn't, you know what I'm saying?" And this is how they was doing everywhere. They did this shit in Rosewood. They did it in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They say, "Oh, well, you know how we can get this off? By saying that a black man raped a white woman, and then we could just run in there and take the town over." And this is what they was doing, man. You understand? This is what they was doing. Look. Let me see this. Let me see if I can get on this. Click on this right here. No, I want to see the newspaper clip, man. I don't want to see this shit. Shit took me right to Wikipedia. It say a day of blood in Wilmington. Look. It say, "Don't be tempted by the devil." The devil is him. He just got the devil behind him faking it all, but he's the real devil. Don't be tempted by the devil. Let me see some more of these newspaper clippings, man. You see this? And this is pretty much, like I said, man, this is our history. And like I said, and these was basically people or Aborigines that was coming out of the Civil War, and you know what I'm saying, and basically who built the city. And like I said, and this is the reason why we can never get ahead, why we was never able to get ahead, because every time that you was able to get ahead and you did have power, they would march in and take over your town, and then they would form businesses and shit, and then leave you out of it. And then when you did try to get jobs and you did try to build, they will redo the same thing. "Oh, we heard you raped this white woman." Yo, that's why I say, man, it's a lot of karma in the Americas, man, especially in the South, man. It's a lot of karma, man. And like I said, a simple thank you and putting a plaque up is not going to pay back for the shit and all the murders they've done on this land and all the murders they have done to the people on this land. So people, you can sit here and act like, okay, well, because you acknowledge something, that makes it, okay, that's the first step. The first step is, I guess, addressing it. What's the second step? You ain't gonna never pay the people what they worth, or never get the people back what they lost or whatever. But you wanna act like you care so much, and that's why I say, man, even with this history, like I said, it definitely saddens me to have to sit here and read this, and you know what I'm saying. I know a lot of you done heard about the Wilmington Massacre already. I just wanted to put it on. I just wanted to put it on the channel. Just wanted to do a live stream about it and just touch on it. Let me see who's in the chat room. Peace to everybody in the chat room. Shout out Mimi Dow. Shout out Ghost. Kendrick Alexander. Kawa. Classy Lady. Blue Voodoo. What's up, my brother? Band 11. Seeking My Creation. My Creator. Icy Prisons. Let me see who else in here. Shout out to everybody, man. Jeffrey Johnson, Unity Aboriginal Love. No, yeah, Unity Aboriginal Love. Shout out to everybody. Dark Horse. It's moving so fast, y'all. Sorry about that. But we know that this was an all Aborigine town. Sheena Miles, Pieces, American Indian. Shout out to everybody, man. And like I said, R77. Out to Chapman, Freeman. What is I am Freeman. Tyree P. Shout out Raven Hawk, Rainstorm. Shout out to all the people in the Rena Leon, Jolito, Copper Empress. What's up, sis? Peace, Copper Empress. Like I said, shout out to everybody, man. You know, I got my link down here. You know what I'm saying? Support Culture Freedom, send donations, you know, PayPal. Shout out to everybody send me donations. Shout out to the brother send me the donation the other day. Let me actually get let me go on my PayPal real quick and give you a proper thanks. Let's see something. Give me 1 second, people. Shout out GR. I want to shoot your government out there, but shout out GR. Thanks for the donation, brother. Like I said, man, I wish people would send these donations in so I can get this documentary. I actually spoke to Dr. David Imhotep last night. I'm trying to get him in it, trying to get some other brothers and sisters in it. But like I said, I'm going to definitely need funds to compensate some of these people, man, because at the end of the day, I'm trying to get this on some type of platform, get it properly organized so people can see our history and see who we really are, man. At least people understand what they did and how they changed history and how they changed you from being an Aborigine or Black Indian into being an African American, so people can understand that the word Negro and slave is not synonymous with the word fucking African. Because every time you see the word Negro and slave, they're throwing the word African on it. We know what Walter Plecker did. It's documented. It's documented. They cannot go back and cover this shit. They cannot go back and cover the millions and millions of people that they classified Negro and color that told them that they was Indians. They cannot go back and cover that up. They cannot go back and cover that up. So like I said, if you got color on your birth certificate, then you should be looking forward for some type of lawsuit or change your classification, because you have all right to change your classification. Whether you believe in the UNDRIP and the ADRIP, you have a right to go back. That's actually treaty law, so you actually can use that to be somewhat recognized. I don't know how much recognized it's going to do, because remember, you go through them to get it, the same people, you know, like they would probably pretty much do the same shit they done did. Like when we read these historical, we read the history and everything, how you have other white people join them because they didn't have a choice, because it was either us or them. So, you know, for the most part, man, shout out to everybody, send donations, man. You know, go to my T-shirt Spring account, cop yourself an Aboriginal shirt or Aboriginal hoodie. I got ladies and men's. You know, please support your brother. And like I said, send the donations, man, if you get a chance, man. I can't really hang that long. I go pick my daughter up. But shout out, thanks to everybody for coming through. And like I said, man, remember, I do a lot of this shit off the fly. None of my shit is rehearsed. You know, most of the time I'll be reading from the screen, shit be moving around, stuff be going on in the background. So I do have a lot of distractions. I'm not the type of person to do anything rehearsed, man, because I feel as though there's nothing wrong with anyone who do a rehearse. And you have people who can read flawlessly and basically express themselves flawlessly. I'm not one of them people, man. You know, I have a lot of so-called, you know, I ain't gonna say issues, but just, you know, when you read this stuff, man, this shit, man, it make you cringe, man. It make you cringe because, you know, most of the people, when you present with this racism shit, they say, well, I didn't have nothing to do with it. Well, your ancestors did. So the same way I'm benefiting from what my ancestors did, which most of us live in poverty, you benefiting from your ancestors did, and you took land that didn't belong to you. And like I said, and even like the colonists that came here, we read what they came here for. They came here to take the land, and the other Europeans came here and joined these same people and saying, well, let's ride on these black people, let's ride on this black town. That's what the KKK was. You had one black house that may have been right there, and the KKK, 100 people will come and put their fucking cross up in your land and then scare you off of your own land. So like I said, man, for the most part, man, look up your history and study your history and understand exactly what was done to us here, man. So with that being said, man, I am the Tonsilist one. Love and light to all the Tonsilans and Aboriginal people of America that have been classified Negro, Black, Colored, and African Americans. You are not that. Most of us, most of the African, well, I ain't gonna say most, I'm gonna say all the African Americans, okay, are indigenous people of this land. It ain't no small number. If your ancestors was here prior to 1800s, the chances are 99.9% you are an Aboriginal. Ain't no, don't believe they brought over 380 something thousand so-called Africans when there was already millions of black Indians here, and these people assimilated. And understand what I said. If they was already taking your ancestors out of here in the early 1600s to the Caribbean or whatever, Barbados, Bermuda, Bahamas, West Indies, and then bring you back as a Negro, you can't prove that they brought any Africans. The only way you're able to prove that they brought Africans is if you don't know what the original indigenous people look like here. So with that being said, I'm the Tonsilist one. You know, comment, like, subscribe. You know, go to the my PayPal. You know what I'm saying? Donate so I can get this documentary out. Like I said, I'm gonna get it out in one way or another. I'm gonna get out whether I gotta put my own money to it or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, shout out to the people thus far who did send donations, who are trying to help, who do see the importance of sending $20 out, man. You know, $10, $5. Like I said, I got 14,000 subscribers, man. If 14,000 subscribers, which I know, like I said, they're not all active subscribers, but I want to say that at least 5,000 of them is. If 5,000 people send 2,000, that'll be enough, and I'll put the rest of the money in to get this shit out. So like I said, I'm the Tonsilist one, man. You know, go to my T-shirt spring account, cop yourself something. You know, it's not FUBU, but it's for us to buy us for the most part, and cop yourself something and represent who you are. So with that being said, man, I'm out of here, y'all. Peace.